I changed my mind. We're playing Wanderstop because I was like, dude, we need to read those damn books. Oh my god, your emotes, Nim. Look at those cute little emotes. I just remembered this game. Oh, how cute. Right. I need to swap it. You need to give me 5 seconds. Is it that one? There we go. Wanderstop's real complicated because it's not called Wanderstop in the screen click. So in OBS you have the ability to say which screen you would like. It's not called Wanderstop, it's called clearing, and I have absolutely no idea why. But it's there now, we can see it. So this is Wanderstop. If you don't know what Wanderstop is, you're about to flip and find out. We are supposed to be reading the books. I can basically remember how to play this game. Oops, I don't know what happened there. Control Z! We're fine! We're fine! Don't look at it, it's fine! What happened there? Right, we're just... It's one of them screw-whiffy kind of days, everyone. How are you doing? So is this too loud or is this alright? If I remember rightly, when you go in game, it's always really quiet. So, Wanderstop is the game where you are playing as Alba. We will be going straight into the last chapter because I need to get all of the Dirk Warhard books, and I'm pretty sure the last book only comes in the last chapter. There are so many cute emotes. Are those capybaras? Oh my gosh. Zomagn. Oh, I love those. You tried. Relatable. I didn't. Oh, I was continuing. Let's pick the chapter, it's fine. Wait, if we continue, it might have the book. So this is Alba. She did bad things from what I remember. No, I know exactly what she did, but I don't want to spoil it for anyone who might play this game. I've got to remember how to use the game, by the way. I don't remember how to do anything. Right, we're gonna have to options it because I don't know how to do anything anymore. Oh, that's right. It was all C, wasn't it? Field guide. Interact is E or left mouse button. That's fine. Right. We don't need we don't need the field guide. Right, we literally need to go inside. Oh, has he got a quest for us? Right, let's just go upstairs. Don't look at me. Don't talk to me. Don't look at me. There should be 3 books. Because I don't remember how to make the tea, man. We've got all about gardening. Where am I? Where's that one? I think all my books might be gone. Where are all my books gone? I had Dirk books. Where are my books gone? What's this? The Book of Answers. Book of Answers, where's my Dirk Warhard books? Why have you stolen my books from me? How do I go in the inventory again? There was a way to go in the inventory. Was it 2? I have nothing. Oh. We have them all. Okay. I need to figure out. Is this all of them? The Fastest Bullet Alive, a novel. Chasing Bullets, a history and critical theory of the Dirk Warhard novels. You left for a bit so someone robbed you of your books, probably. Edge of a Bullet. I'm pretty sure that this is the one we didn't read. And it was a history one. I think these are here ready for me to read. Let's go find a nice... Oh, God. Let's go find a nice place to read them. Let's go sit on a bench. We will be reading them. Because I don't think there's anything else. Let's go sit in this bed. Can I sit in the chair and still read? No, you vaguely look out the window. Get out of the chair. Oh, no. We're fine. I might just have to stand in the corner. Where's all my photos? I also had lots of lovely photos. Where are all my photos? Oh, it destroyed everything, didn't it? I'm pretty sure there's only 3 books. This is fine. I can't remember if this is the first one. Right, let's read it. Give me 5 seconds. Hello, this is Ploo. If you're a bit confused, that's because this is probably going to be turned into a YouTube video. We are finally reading the Dirk Hardlock books in Wanderstop. I can't remember if there's 4 books or if there's 3 books. I'm going to read 3 books. If we find another one, we find another one. If we don't, never mind. So we are reading The Edge of a Bullet. Or at least we would be, if I wasn't right next to a sofa. By D.B. Steele. Edge of a Bullet. A Dirk Warhard novel. It was just another typical day for Dirk Warhard. Dirk Warhard had been undercover for 13 weeks. In that time, he hadn't showered, shaved, or eaten a single time. This was the Dirk Warhard undercover method. The Dirk Warhard undercover method was a living hell for the initial 4 weeks. But on week 5, without fail, his body would begin to buzz with a feverish euphoria and a rigorous alertness that gave him the edge he needed to succeed. Because of the adrenaline it produced, he also hadn't slept in a month. His skull vibrated with a cocktail blend of indiscriminate rage and an unquenchable passion for justice. Time to get to work. Dirk Warhard's undercover persona was that of Bobby Briggleston, billionaire playboy heir to the Briggleston family media empire. In fact, Dirk Warhammer was himself a millionaire playboy, much wealthier than his undercover persona, but he'd play any role if it meant getting the job done. A wealthy local socialite was hosting a charity gala in her mansion home, which Dirk Warhard had been instructed to infiltrate. His limousine pulled into the mansion driveway around midday. As he stepped out of the limo, the sun shone brightly into his eyes. Dirk Warhard hated the sun more than he hated anything in the world. He had been told many times to stop looking directly into the sun, but to turn his back on an enemy was cowardice that he could never forgive. Pulsing with rage from the Dirk Warhard undercover method, Dirk Warhard pulled a pistol from his tuxedo jacket and fired 10 rounds directly into the heart of the sun. Case closed. He holstered the pistol and stepped into the party. Shortly after entering, he was met by the host, Samantha Keelite. She was his target, a known perpetrator of undercover organized crime, and the person from whom he was to extract sensitive information. "Howdy," he said to her. "My name is Bobby Briggleston." But his name was not Bobby Briggleston. That was only his undercover alias, and his name was Dirk Warhard. Dirk Warhard thought to himself, "I'm Dirk Warhard," and then continued the conversation. Mr. Briggleston, it is the pleasure of pleasures to finally meet you," exclaimed Samantha Keelite. "I've heard so much about you from our mutual friend." The mutual friend she spoke of was Dirk Warhard's handler, who had briefed him on every mission. Dirk Warhard did not know this man's name, because Dirk Warhard disliked learning names. The only name he knew for certain was Dirk Warhard, and even that one was written on a card in his wallet for emergencies. A man in a servant's outfit approached them with a tray of shrimp cocktails. "Hors d'oeuvres!" The sight of food thrilled and angered Dirk Warhard. Hunger raged in his stomach, but he couldn't risk the mission. He stepped very close to the man, holding the tray, and subtly pressed his pistol to the man's sternum. "You'll remove the food immediately, and you'll never show your face in this city again." The man began to tremble violently, then nodded and turned for the exit. Dirk Warhard fired a warning gunshot at his feet, just to scare him. A hush fell over the entire party, but Dirk Warhard coolly holstered his pistol and said, "Saw some asbestos." The partygoers all nodded in appreciation, and a few began applauding. Now then, declared Samantha Keylight. May I show you around my home? A man of your distinction will surely admire my collection of art. That's right, replied Dirk Warhard. I am a man. And he was. The two of them stepped into an adjacent room, which was empty but for the paintings hung on every wall. Van Dawson's mostly, said Samantha Keylight. There's some at the far wall of my ferret. Do you have a favourite artist, Mr. Biggleston? Because there was only one name that Dirk Warhard truly knew. He replied, Dirk Warhard. Several of the paintings looked to Dirk Warhard like food. To suppress the anger he had aroused in him, he tore one of the paintings clear in half. Asbestos, he explained. Mr. Biggleston, said Samantha Keylight, I did not invite you here simply to admire my art collection, nor to rid my house of asbestos. In fact, there is one particular piece of art I wish to show you that I think you will find very interesting. Dirk Warhard responded well to this statement because he liked it when people gave him things that interested him. Samantha Keylight pulled a small parcel from a shelf and then turned to Dirk Warhard. But the parcel was not a piece of art. It was a gun. She pointed the gun at him. That's right. I know exactly who you are, Dirk Warhard. Dirk Warhard quietly retrieved his wallet, checked the card inside. She was correct. You didn't think you'd fooled me with this Bobby Briggleston nonsense, did you? I know your scummy face anywhere. Samantha Keylight fixed the gun on his temple. Tell me who sent you, or the next piece to hang on my walls will be your brain. Time slowed to a crawl. Dirk Warhard played through every possible outcome of the situation in his head, tactically assessing thousands of different strategic maneuvers. His mind raced with the efficiency of a cheetah nailed to a missile. Sorry. And after a mere half a second, which to Dirk Warhard felt like hours, the only strategy, with even a glimmer of hope, was clear to him. Well, snarled Samantha Keylight, what's it going to be? Are you going to start talking, or do I have to... Samantha Keylight exploded. Bloods and innards splattered across every inch of the room, drenching the various works of art and substantially lowering their value at auction. Dirk Warhard wiped a finger from his eyes. Weeks ago he had secretly planted a bomb inside Samantha Keylight, triggered by a switch inside the ring on his left hand. This was one of Dirk Warhard's signature techniques, and it had saved him dozens of times. He stepped over to where he had vaguely recalled she had been standing, adjusted his shirt cuffs and said, What you didn't know is I'm actually Dirk Warhard. And then he pulled out his pistol and set it again while holding the pistol, which he had decided was cooler. He repeated it while firing the gun several times, and that felt coolest of all. Dirk Warhard still had no idea what role Samantha Keylight played in the perpetration of organised crime, but it wasn't his job to know. The less Dirk Warhard knew, the more quickly he completed each mission. And this one had been done in record time. He pressed the mechanical implant on his neck to inform his handler that the submission had been a success. Dirk Warhard stepped back into the party, where guests were in a panic over the shot, the sound of explosions and gunshots. They turned and froze as he entered the room, dripping with Samantha Keylight. Dirk Warhard strode confidently towards the nearest servant holding a tray, grabbed a shrimp cocktail and stuffed it into his mouth with a beastly vigour. Someone in the crowd yelled, Oh my God, it's Dirk Warhard! Dirk Warhard attempted to yell, What you didn't know is I'm actually Dirk Warhard. But his mouth was too full of shrimp. So instead he just fired his gun into the air several times. The partygoers began cheering and making out with each other. Then the president emerged from the crowd. Dirk Warhard, said the president, you've saved us once again. I award you $10,000 in cash. The crowd cheered again. Dirk Warhard still couldn't speak, so he just kept firing his gun. One of his bullets accidentally hit the president, who gave the thumbs up as he bled out, grateful to have been killed by the famous Dirk Warhard. But the president's death didn't bother Dirk Warhard, who knew that there would be another president. But there would never be another Dirk Warhard. He stuffed another shrimp into his mouth, then crowd surfed his way back to the limo as he yelled his famous catchphrase, "Nobody survives Dirk Warhard. Justice, as cold as the shrimp. It was just another typical day for Dirk Warhard." And that was Dirk Warhard, Edge of the Bullet. I love these books. They're so weird. Ploo, your ability to not crack up reading this is very impressive. I shall do so on your behalf. I love the idea because they're obviously trying to satirize like books that were written in this way, like the old James Bond books and stuff. Like he was amazing and he was the only super spy who could super spy ever. That's what they give. And I'm here for it. Right, we got another one. That's the brewing pocket. I think there might be another one, I can't remember. The Fastest Bullet Alive, a Dirk Warhard novel. This is the cover. The location, outer space. The mission, Dirk Warhard going to outer space. The man, Dirk Warhard. Dirk Warhard knew only one thing about outer space. Anything you kill in space stays there for good. He couldn't remember where he had learned this piece of information, but it was about to save his life. 2 days ago, he had boarded a spaceship bound for the Global Alliance space station, which I've just realised is gas. GASS. Nice. I didn't realise that the first time I've read this. Sorry, back to serious mode. Most field agents require extensive training to prepare for a mission to space. But Dirk Warhard was no ordinary agent. He'd completed the 3-week training program in a mere 6 hours, taught himself physics in order to build his own spaceship, and most importantly, he could hold his breath for up to 30 minutes at a time. That last point was important, because Dirk Warhard did not trust the government. Government issue spacesuit that he had been given. It was common knowledge that the government filled their spacesuits with government air, a type of air subsidised by the government for public use. So it had inevitably been breathed by all manners of degenerates, such as actors, theatre performers, and improv comedians. Dirk Warhard trusted air that only he had ever breathed. And so throughout the mission, he had only allowed himself to breathe once every 30 minutes, so as to consume as little of the degenerate air as possible. At this very moment, the music in the background's not helping with this. At this very moment, he had just taken one such breath. He was floating in space, just outside the Global Alliance space station, fitted in his government-issue spacesuit. Not 100 feet away, a vicious man named Commander Huntington was waiting, also floating in space. However, Commander Huntington was wearing perhaps the most elite spacesuit ever constructed. A fusion-powered nanoparticle exoskeleton made from steel and magma, and designed by a man who didn't know how to love. Dirk Warhard grimaced at the relative puniness of his own suit as the government air rushed into his lungs, and he screamed as the horrific thought of mediocre community improv assaulted his mind. Commander Huntington smirked, aware of his obvious advantage. "I see you, Dirk Warhard," he yelled. "I see you and the pitiful equipment you've lugged up here. How could you ever consider yourself a match for my superior exoskeleton?" As he said this, the exoskeleton blinked in a pattern of glowing green lights that looked like a snake, which Dirk Warhard thought was pretty cool. "Face it," chuckled Commander Huntington. "You've lost. Outer space belongs to me now, and with my unstoppable technology, I will rule over it like a king." Dirk Warhard wanted to yell back, "Well, you can't do all of that stuff if you're dead." But he knew that doing so could easily shave 10 minutes off of his breath-holding time, so instead turned to someone who could do all the talking for him. His trusty handgun. Dirk Warhard pulled the handgun from its holster, pointed it at Commander Huntington, and squeezed the trigger. The bullet exploded out of his gun, raced towards Commander Huntington, and slowed to a complete halt, inches from Huntington's face. Commander Huntington burst into laughter. Well, it seems even the most famous Dirk Warhard is fallible. My exoskeleton emits a gravitational field that will slow your bullets to a complete halt. Do you see how useless it is to oppose me? I am invincible. And the lights on his suit showed the cool snake eating toxic waste and surviving. It was a terrible moment for Dirk Warhard. His gun had never failed him before, and he had fired it over 1 million times at over 10 million people. You'll never be able to shoot me, taunted Commander Huntington. Your bullets aren't fast enough. Suddenly, something sparked in Dirk Warhard's mind. The commander's words echoed in his ears. Your bullets aren't fast enough. Your bullets aren't fast enough. Your bullets aren't fast enough. His mind stirred, and a memory of himself as a young man suddenly flashed before his eyes. I said your bullets aren't fast enough, Warhard. It was the voice of Hollister Madblack, Dirk Warhard's very first trainer. Madblack had been the one who shaped Dirk Warhard into the heroic agent of violent justice that he would one day become. Madblack was a brutal teacher. I'm sure he was beautiful too, unrelenting in his methods, and incredibly specific in his background knowledge of your insecurities. And on this particular day, Dirk Warhard had spent all afternoon at the firing range while Madblack berated him. Your bullets aren't fast enough, Madblack growled. They're pathetic. You've got all the intensity of a comatose infant dying of the plague underwater. Do it again. The young Dirk Warhard grimaced, his sweaty hands gripping the handgun, and he fired the gun once again with all of his might. The bullet went fast. Really, really fast. But it wasn't fast enough for Madblack. No, 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 yelled Madblack. Still too slow. My grandmother could hobble faster than this, and she's literally made of bricks. Do it again. Dirk Warhard was nearly at the end of his limit. He'd been shooting the bullets as fast as he knew how to, and it still wasn't enough for Madblack. Dirk Warhard slumped his shoulders in resignation. Madblack got right in his face. Now listen to me, Warhard. You are not leaving this pristine, privately funded underground training compound until you fire a bullet so fast it leaves me in tears, and I've only ever cried twice. So stand up, point yourself forward like a man, and fire that gun! A wave of determination swept over Dirk Warhard's face. He threw his shoulders back, raised his handgun into the air, focused his mind on the one single thing in the world that brought him true happiness and inspiration. Dirk Warhard. He grinned as his finger clenched the trigger with every fibre of strength he had. He screamed at the top of his lungs, I'm Dirk Warhard! The bullet erupted from the gun, travelling at speeds he'd never known before. Hollister Madblack smiled. That's it, Dirk Warhard. That's what I wanted to see. Again. Dirk Warhard fired the gun again, this time with even more strength than before. His finger moved with a velocity he had never known in his life, slamming down onto the trigger. My name is Dirk Warhard, and I am Dirk Warhard. The bullet erupted from the gun at a blazing pace. Again and again he fired, each bullet faster than the one before. After nearly 9 hours of uninterrupted gunfire, Dirk Warhard at last paused and lowered his handgun. He turned to see Hollister Madblack, with a single tear rolling down his cheek. Number 3, Warhard. Not bad. The words echoed in Dirk Warhard's memory as his mind raced back to the present moment when Commander Huntington continued to taunt him, using the exact words he'd already repeated 5 or 6 times by now. Your bullets aren't fast enough to defeat me, Dirk Warhard. The Dirk Warhard smiled. He gripped the handgun like you'd grip a beloved friend and pointed it at the commander, who simply laughed. Go ahead, try your best. Dirk Warhard closed his eyes and thought deeply about the one thing in this world that he truly loved, the source of all of his inspiration, and the only man whose air he'd willingly breathe, the only family member who had never sold his personal information to a country we were at war with. Dirk Warhard. A warmth filled him from within, circling his body before travelling downward into his finger. It was as though his finger was moving all on its own, unencumbered by any burden of life or physics, like a being of pure light travelling in an imperfect world. His finger squeezed the trigger with more strength, more velocity, more momentum than any man alive knew was possible. Nobody had ever fired a gun like this before. Nobody. With a deafening crack, the bullet fired directly at Commander Huntington. For a split second, Huntington felt a genuine shock that he may have been outmatched. And then, nothing. No reaction at all. Commander Huntington was perfectly fine. He laughed. He missed. The famous Dirk Warhard fires the shot of a lifetime, and then he misses. Unbelievable. Huntington couldn't stop himself. He doubled over with laughter. But Dirk Warhard didn't seem to mind. In fact, the faintest of grins was dancing across his face. Commander Huntington laughed and laughed and pointed at Dirk Warhard in mocking derision, until suddenly he was seized by a very unusual feeling. What was this feeling exactly? It was as though the exoskeleton was gripping him just maybe a little bit less tightly than usual. In fact, he was starting to feel as though there was no exoskeleton. Not merely that the exoskeleton had been destroyed, but that it had never existed at all. Dirk Warhammer had hit exactly what he'd aimed at. The bullet had erupted from the gun at such an unbelievable velocity that it couldn't be contained by the very fabric of space around it. It had shredded through reality, setting quantum matter alight in its wake, and in doing so, it had pierced the veil of time. A bullet travelling so fast that it had travelled backward in time. Backward a minute, then an hour, then a day. Years began to fly by, and the bullet lost no momentum, and at last had found its destination. The steel and magma factory, where the exoskeleton had been constructed, honed and refined in its design by the scientist who didn't know how to love. Decades of work and research had culminated in the unstoppable exoskeleton that Commander Huntington wore today. Yet here, at the beginning of it all, Dirk Warhard's bullet re-entered the fabric of space. It flew straight and true into the liquid explosive core of the facility, generating a spark that blew the entire facility to pieces. No exoskeleton would ever be constructed here. That much was certain. Now in the present moment, Dirk Warhard watched as Commander Huntington grasped and flailed at the empty space surrounding his body, where the exosuit had been just moments ago. As Commander Huntington scowled at him in a combination of spiteful fury and suffocating, Dirk Warhard couldn't help but laugh. Dirk Warhard had always despised the past, but today it had saved his life. He knew it would cost him precious air, but he was too swept up in emotion. He turned to outer space and yelled, "My name is Dirk Warhard, and I will defeat the past, even if it takes the rest of my life." And then he laughed. And laughed until inevitably he had to breathe again. As he inhaled, the horrific thoughts returned of the good-natured community actors just trying to get a leg up in their highly competitive industry. He shuddered in disgust, but somehow it didn't bother him. Here in space, watching as Commander Huntington suffocated, or whatever he was doing over there, Dirk Warhard felt certain that he had made his old trainer proud. And that was all that mattered. Somewhere in the past, Hollister Madblack smiled ever so slightly and nodded in glowing approval as another tear ran down his calloused, stubbled cheek. Number 4. Not bad, Warhard. Not bad. And that was the end of The Fastest Bullet Alive, a Dirk Warhard novel. They're insane, okay? Completely insane. Guys, I think his name might be Dirk Warhard. You know what? I think you might be right. We should have "I am Dirk Warhard" as a sound. And like, no one will know where it's from. It's just like, "I am Dirk Warhard." Oh. These books are insane. Right. So this one is more like a biography, I think. I don't think it's actually like a proper book. Sorry. Chasing Bullets. Chasing Bullets. Is this him on the front? A history and critical theory of Dirk Warhard novels. I need another sip of water. The enduring popularity of the Dirk Warhard novels presents an enigma for contemporary literary critics. How does one analyze and understand a body of work which is so superficial in its content, yet which has achieved such enduring audience adoration? While many are content to dismiss their popularity as the result of the simple-minded desire for easily consumable and mindless content, I believe that this perspective misses a crucial element of what makes the Dirk Warhard novels popular. After all, he's not only the vapid action hero in pulp literary fiction. No, I read that right. So what makes his legacy so enduring? To understand this question is to understand the book's author, Jeremy Eskakov, who wrote the books under pen name D.B. Steele. Did not always produce such simple-minded literature. The novels he wrote early in his career, while similar in theme to the Dirk Warhard books, walked a much more nuanced line in their portrayal of action heroics. For instance, the Flag Bearer Rests at Dawn depicts the struggles of two brothers on either side of a civil war, whose fraught attempts at reconciliation are complicated by constantly changing messages of state propaganda. A year later, Estakov published Final Eyes, a futuristic thriller about a government agent whose desire to serve justice humanely is challenged by the encroachment of efficient yet thoughtless robotics into the world of law enforcement. Estakov has repeatedly declined to speak publicly about these early works, or indeed about any of his oeuvre. Sorry, I don't know how do you pronounce that word. In time, he came to be known as an enigmatic recluse, someone who emerged from isolation only to deliver a new piece of work. His reticence to explain himself, therefore, invites a great deal of speculation as to why he shifted away from writing more nuanced material to instead pen the Dirk Warhard novels. Of course, it's impossible to ignore the financial failure of his earlier novels, yet to focus on sales may miss the bigger picture. Estakov was known to have a contentious, I know this word, my brain just won't remember it, relationship with his publisher, who at the time was attempting to capture a more artistic and socially conscious audience, and so put extensive pressure on him to make public appearances for press and the reception of awards. Estakov bristled at the insistence, resentful of being asked to participate in the literary social world. We are then left to wonder whether this shift towards mass audience literature was actually a move by Estakov specifically intended to rebel against the wishes of his publisher. Yet regardless of Estakov's intentions, what's indisputable is that the moment he shifted his efforts, he found immediate commercial success. His very first Dirk Warhard novel, On a Wing and a Bullet, became a global bestseller and brought the name Dirk Warhard into the public vernacular. Within 3 years, Estakov had published a further 6 novels in the franchise, including the bestsellers Bullets O'Clock, Edge of a Bullet, and Knives at a Bullet Fight. Who is Dirk Warhard exactly? Going by the novels, he can be difficult to pin. How is he difficult to pin down? He's Dirk Warhard. He says that how many times? He is constantly portrayed as a stoic and unflinching. Yet with each novel, he shifts socio-politically in order to meet the needs of the story. The best example of this is the perpetual question on whether Dirk Warhard works for the government or not, and the answer seems to change in each book. His role in the execution of justice fluctuates between being a public good and being a rogue renegade, sometimes even within the same story. Dirk Warhard is also the embodiment of a stereotypical heteronormative masculinity. As the novels exploded in popularity, so too did they begin to attract criticism for their portrayal of Warhard's relationship with masculinity. As writer Laura Ehura phrased it, Dirk Warhard romanticized male infantilization to an audience for whom contemporary expectations of masculinity have become too far nuanced. This and other criticisms resulted in a bitter retaliation from Estakov, who chose to respond to his critics not via public statement, maintaining as ever his trademark aloofness, but through his novels themselves. His subsequent novel, Straight as a Bullet, was a naked attempt to repudiate his, I don't think that's what that says, his critics by having Dirk Warhard double down on every one of his most egregiously masculine tendencies. In the novel, Eskakov's longest ever, Warhard makes love to 120 women. His longest novel ever bangs 120 women and kills dozens of vegetarians. Is that masculine, is it, to not like vegetarianism? The exact phrase, "I'm a man and nothing will change that," appears 26 times. If 20 times of that aren't when he's banging a woman, you're doing it wrong. Mr. Dirk Warhard, I love you so much. I'll be leaving now. I'm a man and nothing will change that. Nice. Well, it's at this point that the novels begin to drive toward a very specific thesis. Dirk Warhard is incapable of fundamental change because he is who he is as a result of inherent traits rather than as a product of social or political impact. For instance, in the Bullet Complex, the villainous Dr. Schrumptuck genetically modifies Dirk Warhard to make him more compliant and passive as a person. Read that bit. Yet Warhard's genes literally resist the transformation, rearranging themselves back into their natural configuration just moments after the procedure is complete. This is a recurring theme in subsequent books, such as Face Full of Bullets and Bullets Forever, wherein the villains become focused less on personal gain and more on simply just trying to change Warhard. It is in this trend that we see the core appeal of Dirk Warhard begin to emerge. A repudiation of the value of socio-political change is the only consistent villain of the Warhard novels, the only concept towards which he remains consistently hostile. Even Warhard's notion of justice is malleable. At times, he considers crime necessary to achieve justice, while at other times, the elimination of all crime is the only path to justice. Yet in no circumstances is change acceptable for himself or for anyone else. Of course, we are again left to speculate as to the exact nature of Estakov's personal belief in the content he was creating. Are we to see Dirk Warhard through the eyes of the author, who once penned serious and moody works of nuanced interpersonal intrigue? In this sense, the Dirk Warhard novels could be seen as a satirical lampooning of mass media interests. Or are we to assume that Estakov truly did come around to believing in the fundamental righteousness of never changing? This thematic thread may have continued through the novels, if not for a personal setback. Estakov's brother passed away after the publication of The Bullet Hunts at Night, at which point Estakov's prolific pace slowed dramatically. The loss devastated him. After several years of silence, he emerged from isolation with a new book, Whispers of a Broken Bullet, in which, for the first time ever, Dirk Warhard became a deeply emotive character. Warhard monologues on the nature of pain for over a dozen pages and openly cries twice. There is no villain or a central conflict. Warhard simply travels from place to place, remarking grimly on the various people and locations he passes. In some ways, the novel feels like a return to Estakov's earlier works. Yet, if the response to his earlier work was muted, the responses to the Whispers of a Broken Bullet were hostile. Fans of the series uproariously decried the changes and demanded a return to form. Whether as a capitulation of the public response or perhaps a desire to distract himself with work of a less nuanced sort, Estakov abandoned the new angle on Dirk Warhard. His next book, Bullets Don't Cry, saw a decisive return to the Dirk Warhard of old. And in this book, Dirk Warhard murders over 400 people, including the Prime Minister of every nation on the planet, becoming the Prime Minister himself in several countries. His tendency toward cannibalism, already alluded to in previous books, ratchets up with the invention of his new justice cannibalism technique. The book shows Dirk Warhard's complete regression into the most thoughtlessly violent and virile version of himself. What? Virile? And was adored by fans upon release. Dude, your fans are weird. Bullets Don't Cry ended up becoming the best-selling book in the entire franchise as of writing of this piece. Yet the series' resurgence was short-lived. A few years and a few novels later, a bombshell investigative report revealed that, for an unknown amount of time, ghostwriters had been doing much of the work on the Dirk Warhard books. Eskakov was at this point in his declining years, and his publisher had progressively been enlisting uncredited staff writers to take over significant amounts of the writing. It was never revealed what sections of the latter books were not written by Eskakov, or indeed if he wrote a single word of them at all, but those hoping to hear an answer directly from Eskakov were crestfallen when he passed away a few months later. In the wake of his passing, the publisher openly turned to the ghostwriters to continue the series, albeit strictly in sequel form. Sequels such as The Fastest Bullet Alive 2, Even Faster Bullets, failed to elicit a critical or commercial response of any significance. To this day, the publisher continues to produce these sequels, still bearing Estakov's name, to a decidedly middling reception. The failure of these sequels and the question of the novel's authorship invites a question. What was it that gave Estakov's heroic protagonist such broad appeal in the first place, whether he wrote from a place of satirical mockery or from a genuine belief in the need for regressive masculinity? Estakov's intentions was never truly dissected. His most enduring legacy is not just the character of Warhard, but a collective disagreement over the authorial underpinnings of the Dirk Warhard franchise. It is a question as enduring and unchanging as Warhard himself, and one which will be irrevocably affixed to the institution of literary criticism. And that was the end of Chasing Bullets, a history of critical theory of the Dirk Warhard novels. I'm pretty sure that's all three of them. I don't remember if there was a fourth one. I think this might have been the third one. I love when games put stuff like this. I love it. Ooh, there are always party streamers out there. I absolutely adore when people put stuff in there. I love it. Right, I'm just going to check on Fireball if there's any more. But the problem is it's very hard to find. I am sorry if you can hear the typing. I wanted to see how many of them there were. There is 4. Damn. No, never mind. No, we got all 3. Because the other one's the Currency's Guide to Economics, which we don't need to read. Okay, no, that was all of them. Fantastic. So as you can see, this is Alba, sweet girl from Wanderstuck. This is the main area for Wanderstuck. This is your tea machine. This is good old Boris. I can't talk to you again. It'll make me cry. This is the world. That's the one of the little girls. Love her. You have to plant plants. You have to make tea. You learn about the history of Alba and help other people as well. It's just a really, really lovely game. We also help other people deal with their traumas by effectively giving them tea and allowing them to talk about stuff. Which I think is quite funny, being the fact that we've just read that the guy who made the Dirk Warhard books wasn't able to do that after his own brother died. He tried to do that and they hated it. It's just quite funny because the whole point of this book, of this game, sorry, is the fact that we're trying to get our main character to realize that she needs help. She gets the help, and in turn, while slowly accepting help, she's helping other people. I mean, this sword, and then there's a mask somewhere as well. Can't remember where the mask is. Are remnants of guests who come to stay. I don't want to spoil too much, because if you want to play this game, I highly advise it. This game was really good. It was a really, really good game. And I really advise everybody to pick this game up. I'm gonna go to this one. So that was the Dirk Hardlock books. Are they insane? Yes. I did think I'd got all of them. But yeah, so that was the Dirk Hardlock books. I've been trying to reread the Dirk Hardlock books for about 7 months, and I just haven't had chance. So we've redone it now. And I tried to maintain my composure, but unfortunately those books are just batshit insane. So I thought I did a fairly good job. I didn't laugh as much as I thought I would. But I didn't laugh as much as I thought I would. But I really, really like those books. They're really good. Right, I'm going to go for today. Tomorrow we will be back with Dinkum. We were going to play Trash Goblin, but I want to play Dinkum tomorrow. Wednesday we will also be playing Dinkum. Thursday I'm off because I have to go back to the hospital for another blood test. I got a sound out of it. I am Dirk Warhard. You know, that hurt my throat so bad. I remember now why we stopped. I remember now, because I ended up getting a cold and I couldn't talk. So every time I tried to read, it was making me cough. I remember now why we didn't read more. I'm glad I managed to do that. That was actually one of my goals for sometime last year, was finish this thing, and I've done it, so I'm happy. So yeah, I'll be off on Thursday, but I'll be back on Friday with Cozy Caravan. We can probably have a look at Cozy Caravan. Where's my streams? Sorry, my typing is very loud. Oh my god, one of them. I think you can be a frog. Let me just pause it and we'll watch it together. Let's see if we can watch this together. Anytime now, babe. No, not going to do it. Don't feel like it's a day, do you? Nope. There's one. Maybe we can do it like this. Let's turn the sound on so we can actually hear it. So, this is Cozy Caravan. This will be the game that I'm going to play on Friday.
Hear that? That is the sound of Harvest Vale. Take a deep breath.
It's a little pink cow.
Welcome to our world of kindness. Meet our lovable residents. Come with us. We love to craft, explore, share. Who's for pizza? Okay, guys, we're out of pizza.
Oh, very loud.
All right, Bubba. It's a relaxed, slow-paced way of life. But we love it. Join our world for a time. Pass the days with us.
I think I get to be a frog.
You can be anyone you want to be.
I'm going to be a
here.
frog.
And
Obviously.
who doesn't want to end each evening by the campfire after riding around with a giant bumblebee all day? Feel more relaxed already? Cozy Caravan.
Yeah, this is the game we'll be playing from now on, once it releases on Friday. It's super cute. So Minty, who's one of the... God, it's doing something again. So Minty, one of the people who's friends of the stream. Let's not show that. Just checking that there's nothing on there that's bad. She She played this in early access, because I think it's still in early access, but it's actually releasing on the 8th. And she had very high praise for this game, so I'm really looking forward to it. So, I will be back tomorrow with Dinkum, because I love Dinkum and I want to play some more. We'll then play Dinkum again on Wednesday. Thursday I'm off, and Friday we will be moving into Cozy Caravan. That's super sweet. Looking forward to it. Bye all. Thanks for the stream. I hope everybody has a lovely rest of their day and a restful night. And I will see you all tomorrow. Thank you very much for being here today, everyone. I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.